Hey, what's up, believers? Today we're going to look at a very mysterious and much talked about aspect of Steven Universe, fusion. Specifically, a certain theory that revolves around fusion. I'm sure a lot of you already know what I'm talking about. In the show, fusion is a phenomenon that occurs between at least one crystal gem and another gem or human and results in an awesome new entity with combined features of the base gems. In order to fuse, the gems participating have to perform a dance, no, not that one, to become in sync with one another. These dances, I might add, are rather provocative. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Amethyst. I mean, I can appreciate a good stanky leg here and then, but in my kids' show? And I don't even want to get started on what's going on here. So, it's basically common knowledge to everyone that fusion is awesome. We've seen it as a subject of 4 different episodes now, and each one adds vital information to how fusion works. In Giant Woman, Amethyst and Pearl became the elegant warrior Opal. In Coach Steven, Garnet and Amethyst fused to become the destructive behemoth Sugilite. In Fusion Cuisine, all 3 of the crystal gems fused to become the daunting Alexandrite, and in Alone Together, it was shown that Steven and Connie could even fuse to become Stevani. What does this have to do with anything? Well, hold on to your pants there, because fusion gives us little tidbits of information that many fans have put together as part of this theory. That's right, the theory that Garnet, leader of the crystal gems, is actually a gem fusion. The short answer to this theory is, yeah, maybe. But let's look at all the evidence that seems to support this claim. First off, let's begin by talking about the Crystal Temple. To begin, we'll be assuming that the temple is a statue of the fusion of the gems put together, consisting of Amethyst, Pearl, Garnet, and Rose/Steven's gem. Don't believe me? All of the fusion gems have a pair of arms for each gem used to create them. Opal and Sugilite have 4 arms, and Alexandrite has 6. Look at how many arms the temple has. If all 4 of the gems combined, it would amount to 4 sets of 2 arms. Math tells us that equals 8 arms. Also, the temple has at least 3 gems we can see. These locations correspond to the locations of the gems that make them up. Amethyst's chest, Pearl's head, and Garnet's hands. Right where Steven's room is would be Rose's gem, so it looks like it would fit there as well. It seems like the idea is that in some way the temple represents a combination of all the gems. From here on out, we're only counting the 5 crystal gems, Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, Steven, and Rose, their fusions, and the crystal temple. Also, we will be assuming that Garnet is a fusion and counts as 2 gems, not 1. For starters, let's look at Garnet's gems. She's the only one of the non-fusion gems that has more than 1 gem. She has 1 in each of her hands. Not only does she have 2 gems, but 2 different cuts. The cut of a gem basically refers to its shape. All of the crystal gems have different cuts. Amethyst's gem is hexagonal, Pearl's is smooth, and Steven's is in a pentagon. In Garnet's right palm, her gem is triangular. In her left, she has a square gem. Strange to have 2 different cuts, right? Not if you're a fusion, though. The fusions Opal, Sugilite, and Alexandrite also feature the same effect with their gems on their body having the same cut and placement as the gems that make them up. Opal's gems are on her forehead and chest, Sugilite's are on her palms and chest, and Alexandrite's are on her chest, head, and palms. Let it be known that the gems keep the placement and cut of the original gems, but the gems change to a different color to match the fusion's name. Now let's look at the door in the Crystal Temple. On the door to the entrance to the gems room is a 5-pointed star. Each corner bears a gem that corresponds in both color and cut to one of the crystal gems. When Steven, Pearl, and Amethyst unlock the door, a single colored dot, the same color as their own gem, lights up. One would logically jump to the conclusion that Garnet has control over the red gem, and the blue gem might have belonged to a 5th member of the gems that was yet unnamed. When Garnet enters, however, she activates both the red and the blue dots. This always struck me as weird until you consider the following. Garnet also has 3 eyes in a triangle. The one on the left is red, and is also the same color as the red dot on the door and corresponds to her left square-cut gem. Her right eye is blue, which is the same as the right blue-colored dot and her right triangle-cut gem. Her top eye is mysteriously purple, which is a fusion of the colors red and blue, possibly hinting towards Garnet's status. In the end of Steven and the Stevens, Garnet also plays a guitar. A guitar is a fusion of a guitar and a keyboard. Get it? The instrument itself is a fusion. I think that's probably why they gave it to Garnet. I see what you guys did there. There are a couple more things that seem to differentiate Garnet from the rest of the base gems. Yeah, we know that the crystal gems are magical beings, and therefore trying to bog them down with rules on how they should work is pretty much a waste of time. But if you look at Garnet, she's clearly physically stronger than Amethyst, Pearl, or Steven. She's also the only base gem with 3 eyes, and also seems to be the only gem that demonstrates a skill set outside the gem's norms. Future vision. It seems to be connected to her 3rd eye. Garnet is also impervious to most things like lightning and scalding hot coffee, and even stated that she's the only one that could swim through lava. All of these things sound like power-ups one might attain through fusing. So here's one of the biggest pieces of evidence that supports this theory and is basically what gives the argument the most steam. In fusion cuisine, the gems, with the exception of Steven, fuse to become alexandrite. At one point, we see them all diffuse. Did you catch that? After alexandrite diffuses, there is a frame where pearl, amethyst, and garnet are just falling, but garnet's very odd. She looks more like two lumps. If we can clearly make out amethyst and pearl, why is garnet's silhouette so strange looking? Both of the gems are clearly assigned to the right and left sides of the lump that make her up and really don't look like garnet in the slightest. This was done intentionally. I mean, why would the animators go out of their way to make sure garnet's silhouette was the most amorphic out of all the gems, unless they really wanted to show that garnet is made of smaller entities? This blew my mind when I first saw it. So here's the theory on garnet that I think is the most plausible. I'm not saying I support this 100%, but given the evidence, I think it could be the closest to the truth. Garnet is a fusion, composed of two gems, ruby and sapphire, as shown via garnet's eyes and the door. They might have been smaller twin gems or something. During the MagFest 2015 panel, Rachel and I got to ask Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones-Cordy this question.
What determines the height of a fusion?
Well, it's the combined height of the fusers, but there's also other factors, intent and just the circumstances sort of the fusion can alter it. Mostly it's determined by the size of the fusers, but there's a little wiggle room, I think, also, in addition to that.
So the height of a fusion is primarily based on the combined weight of the gems that make them up, huh? Garnet also happens to be the same height as Stevani, who is made up of two small children. Lends evidence to believe Ruby and Sapphire would be around Steven's height. So Sapphire would have had a square-cut gem on her left hand and a single gauntlet as a weapon that she used on her left hand. This is shown by Garnet's entire left side. Ruby would have had a triangular-cut gem on her right hand and a gauntlet matching that hand. Not only are there gems on opposite hands with opposite-handed weapons, Ruby and Sapphire themselves have an extremely strong connection. Chemically speaking, Ruby and Sapphire are the same type of gem. Rubies are pretty much just red sapphires. This would make sense to me that these two would fuse and have similar gem placements and weapons. It's possible Garnet is composed of one or two injured gems who were fused to keep one or both stable. This is why Garnet only has 2 arms and 3 eyes, not 4 arms. Overall, this is a pretty interesting theory. I'm not the type of person to get hyped up over speculation, but I can't deny the theory seems sound. But we won't really know until things get confirmed. Also, I've read that on Rebecca Sugar's AMA, she responded to a question hinting that the mystery behind the Crystal Temple's door and why Garnet has 2 gems would possibly be revealed in Season 2. The simple fact that she mentioned those in the same sentence almost proves they're related. So I think this gives this theory some more weight to it as well. I really like the idea of Garnet being composed of 2 smaller twin gems. Some fans have brought up like what if scenarios where Garnet becomes defused and we get to spend some time exploring 2 new characters. She separates for a while or even a whole season. I admit that this would be a crazy awesome way to introduce new characters and change the entire dynamic of the show. Maybe by this point in the show, Steven would have mastered his gem enough to step up to becoming the new leader of the gems, even for a short while. Who knows? Some other people have argued that that would be lame because we've already come to know and love Garnet for who she is, and to drop a plot twist on us that she isn't really her own being but the culmination of 2 different minds seems like a giant middle finger to the audience. But oh, what a plot twist that would be. Anyway, so from what we know about fusion, would it even be possible for 2 gems to permanently fuse? Sugilite became diffused when she was injured, so if that was the case, that would have happened to Garnet by now. It's not like she hasn't taken damage throughout the show. In Coach Steven, Pearl says that the longer gems stay fused, the more they start to lose their individuality. Is this the same as saying they will become permanently fused? I feel as though it was worded this way for a reason. From what I've gathered about how fusion works in this world, is that when 2 gems combine, their minds occupy the same space or body. For example, at the end of Giant Woman, Amethyst says that Pearl was the one who got carried away doing all the backflips when they were Opal. This suggests that the gem still keeps separate minds and can control different aspects of a fusion, like specific actions. I'm not entirely convinced that a stable gem fusion's personality is an amalgam of the traits of the gems used to make them up. Emphasis on the word stable. I think Sugilite is a bad example because even Pearl said that Garnet and Amethyst's mind become unstable when they're linked, which kind of makes you think that she's a little different. Her personality wasn't like Amethyst or Garnet specifically, unlike what we saw with Pearl, a seemingly more stable fusion. It seemed as though Garnet and Amethyst's personality were getting overshadowed by a third personality, Sugilite's.
I
am myself, and I'm sick of being split up!
See, doesn't that sound like Sugilite is speaking as herself? We saw that with the Alexandrite, the minds and personalities remain intact for the fusion, to the point where they even start arguing with each other. My point is that right from the get-go, it seemed as though Sugilite was her own person, not the minds of Garnet and Amethyst working together. Kinda like she's the fat Gotenks of fusion, she's just a little off. Also, Garnet and Amethyst were basically paralyzed with exhaustion after fusing to Sugilite, something that didn't happen with Opal and Alexandrite. Maybe, in and only in more unstable gem fusions is it possible for gems to lose their individuality or become defused through injury. This would explain how Garnet would be able to stay fused for so long. Perhaps Ruby and Sapphire are able to create a perfect stable gem fusion because they're twins, or because their gems are so closely related. Or maybe I'm just looking into things too much. Well, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think about this, and check out the Steven Universe subreddit when you get a chance. It's a great platform for fans to discuss the show, and that's where I got most of my factual information from. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Also, be sure to click one of the crystal gems here if you want to see my Steven Universe episode reviews or our gaming videos. Peace out, guys, and believe in Steven.